Hey everybody, and welcome to The Kingdom Live today on Thursday. Today I'm joined by Kirsty Forbes, who's one of our content curators here at The Kingdom. Thanks for joining me, Kirsty.
You're welcome, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Today we're going to talk about email marketing, and it's such an important part of a marketing strategy still. A lot of people question whether or not it still has relevance, and we have the stats and the data to prove that it's still hugely successful. So today, Kirsty's going to run through a couple of her tips and tricks for having an engaging and successful email marketing campaign. So Kirsty, tell us, what's your number one tip for a strong email to your client base?
Okay, so number one is the strong subject line.
Yes.
Your headline. It's 100% the most important thing. It's the most attention-grabbing thing that people are going to click on.
Yeah.
It's so relevant. I actually spend as much time creating the headline as I do creating the content behind it.
So what do you do to create the headline? I know that sounds pretty straightforward, but it actually has to be pretty spot on, doesn't it?
Yeah, very tight as well and concise. Think to sort of old school media, right? The thing that makes you buy the newspaper in the first place is actually the attention-seeking headline that's coming out there.
Yeah.
So what's in the subject matter, like, you know, what it's about, etc. And you've got to use really powerful and emotive language as well to sort of grab people. You know, various things like that. You've got to just really think about it.
Yeah, and I guess people's inboxes fill up all the time, don't they? So it's got to be something that, as I'm scrolling through my inbox, stop, pause, click, open, read, engage. Otherwise, it's very easy to hit that trash can.
Well, because we get inundated with things.
Absolutely.
Especially on your mobile, or if you're on the train or wherever, however you're travelling. You kind of...
And that's a really important point. The phone, as we've discussed in so many of these Facebook Live sessions already, the phone is such an integral part of how we communicate with one another nowadays. So the email has to be good looking on a phone as well as on a desktop, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which kind of brings us to our second point, which is a strong visual.
Yes.
You cannot have... We're a visual world these days. You cannot have anything without a beautiful graphic. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to spend hours on it, but it's at least got to be visually appealing, very clear to read on top of that, and, you know, like a strong area space for your actual title to fit in is really important as well, because you don't want it cramped up and difficult to read.
Sure. And obviously relevant to the content. There's no point having a picture that doesn't match the story.
Correct. I mean, sometimes that can be funny, but really that only depends on your client base.
Well, and if you can tie it together with a bit of humour, then well done. But sometimes that can miss the mark.
Inappropriate.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've spoken before about WordSwag and Canva. Are they the tools you use for?
I personally definitely use a lot of Canva. It's just really quick to use. It's simple. You get your image. You have all your different texts there. It's free as well for the basic model, and you don't need to splash out on these programs to do that. It's an incredible tool.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about Canva, and this is the work version, so it is a paid service, but it's not overly expensive. But what I love about it is you create it and then you can share it with me, and I have that image then to go and share on all the social platforms that I need, which is it just makes the process seamless.
It's got this beautiful app which you can resize it for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the rest of it, anything in, like, you know, A4 headers or newsletters. It's brilliant.
It's fantastic.
Like, as a part-time graphic designer.
Yeah.
not my forte.
Yes, we split you in two.
Yeah. But
cool,
that's beautiful for me.
Yeah. That's two tips. What's the third tip for?
The third tip is almost the most important one as well.
Yes.
Meaningful content.
Yeah.
There is no use sending out any old rubbish in your email, because your customers are going to know. They're going to be onto you, and they will actually click off or desubscribe or... and all of those things that you don't want. So you have to provide them with powerful, emotive content, which is relevant to them.
Absolutely.
As otherwise, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What's your point?
And I guess always be posing a question in that text that you put in that email, and then, you know, you're about to essentially provide the answer to the question on the website, because that's the purpose of your website, is to always be answering your customers' questions. So making sure that you're actually not just waffling on, and the point is very clear and easy to understand for the reader, because otherwise, once again, they will just close the window.
Well, we go back to the bombardment of content available on the internet, and it needs to be informative to them. You need to be answering their question. You need to be as inbound as possible, because that's what we're all about at the Kingdom. But,
exactly.
You know, it's providing your customer with what they need and what they require.
Very good.
Otherwise, it's not about you, actually. It's about them at the end of the day.
So one of the big things I really like to do in an email is always be personal. Insert a personalisation token where you can, whether it's in the subject line or dear person's name. It just gives that feeling that that email was actually directed straight to me. The other thing I really like, and you touched on it, is being relevant. So, you know, don't just waffle on, have something that's relevant. And the third is always drive people back to your website.
Of course.
We talk about this all the time. It's my big social media bandwagon soapbox moment, but always be driving people back to your website. There's no point putting something out there if you don't have something pulling them back to your website.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you, Kirsty.
You're welcome.
That was
It was my pleasure.
fantastic. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. We do have an app of the day today, along the same lines as Headliner, but there's another one. I think it's called. Oh gosh, I've had a mental blank. Headliner. We'll go with Headliner. We've done it before, but we'll go with it again. Headliner, Headliner.
Yeah.
Google that, and that's a great app to help you planning out your subject headlines, your blog titles.
Yeah, you just put your keywords in there and it comes up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different combinations. You might not take the suggestions wholesale and
Exactly,
tailor it
yeah.
to be a bit more relevant, but it's actually brilliant for someone like me who's terrible at naming things.
Well, I think you
It's
kind
great.
of, you can have a mental block, especially when you've just sat and belted out a couple of blogs. The headline can seem a little overwhelming. So
Yeah.
having a tool out there that can help you is awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, at 3 p.m. for another episode of the Kingdom Live. But if you've missed any of the rest of the week, you're able to check them out at thekingdom.com.au/the-kingdom-live. Thanks for joining us.
Brilliant.
See ya.
Bye.